So now that we have our data, I'm going to the Jupyter Notebook and try to load this data. To load our data, I'm using pandas, and it will be just import pandas as PD, and then to make the data frame from the CSV file, I use pd.read_csv. So I just click on my data frame to see what's inside it. Right away, I see some columns here, and let's talk about them in details. So the first one is passenger ID. It's just an ID they gave to each passenger. Then we have survived, which is either 0, meaning didn't survive, or 1, meaning survived. P class is the class they were at. It is first class, second class, or third class. Their name, their gender, either male or female, how old they were as age, SIB-SP, meaning if they were with their siblings, PAR-CH, meaning if they were with their parents or children, their ticket number, fare, the amount they paid for it, cabin, which for the cabin, you see we have lots of NaN values, and embarked, meaning from which city they were embarked. So let's look at the whole thing using dataframe.info to get a general information of what's happening here. You see we have 11 columns, and for each column we can see how many of non-null values exist. So for many of them we don't have lots of non-values, which is good. But for age we have a few non-values, as well as for cabin we have many null values. So for the data cleaning part, we need to find a way to get rid of these null values. I start with this guy, embarked. So I'm taking the data frame, and I am only looking at the embarked column, and I want to see the ones that they have null values. So I see I have only 2 rows for that, 2 passengers. There are different ways to tackle this problem. I think maybe the easiest one is just to drop these 2 rows because it's only 2 of them. The other ways to tackle this problem is like we look at their cabin and their ticket number and try to find people with the same ticket number and cabin, and then decide where they might, and then we see where those people embarked from, and then we change these NaN values with those. But for now, I just drop them. And now I have, so to drop them, I'm only looking at, I'm taking only the rows that the embarked value for them is not an A. So now we have to look at age. For age, so I'm looking at in the data frame and the column age, and I want to see the ones that they have age being null. So it is quite a few. I have 177 passengers with not record, that we don't have the record of age for them. One really simple way is to take the average of all other people, average age of all other people in the sheet, and just substitute that value instead of this NaN here. I took a little bit of a better way, and I thought that maybe we can take a look at their gender and their class, and then for those decide to find the average age. So if you look at here, I'm grouping by the data frame based on the sex column and class column. So I'm categorizing people to male and female, and in first class, second class, and third class. And for each of these, I'm going to look at their age and find the average age. So this is what it gives me. So I have either female or male, and for each of them, I have one of these 3 classes. So for example, on average, females who were in first class, they were 34. Now, using these values, I'm going to substitute these values with the non-values. So for all female passengers that they were in first class and the age was not recorded, I'm using this value. This function here is doing this for me. So I'm just looking at the age, and if they are not available, I'm substituting this with one of these. So I'm applying this function to do this for me. So now we resolve the problem with null values in age. For embarked column, what about cabin? For cabin, I realized we have many null values. So I decided that maybe the safest way is just to drop this column. So we are using one feature, but probably this feature is not as important as other features like the age or the class or their sex. So it might be fine. So here I'm dropping the cabin column, and then again I get the information from the whole data frame. So now we have 10 columns. And actually I have to run this one. Oh no, what happened? Okay, I think I have to repeat it from the beginning. Yeah, there we go. So what happened was, like, I dropped cabin, and then the first time that I hit run, and then the second time that I hit run again, it was complaining that I don't have any column cabin to drop. So what I did was I went up and I rerun everything till I get here to fix this problem. So now we have the whole information. You see that people with all of these people have the same number of entries, 889 now. So it means that all columns are fully, that they are full with numbers, not with null values. And we don't have the cabin column anymore here. So let's explore our data and see how many people survived. So I'm looking at the survived column, and I'm just counting the values because it's either 0 or 1. So you see that 549 people did not survive, whereas 350 people survived. The other thing I want to see is, like, what is the average age of people inside this ship? So it is about 30, 29.26. This is good, but I really like to visualize and see what is the age distribution, not only the average. For this guy, I'm doing the histogram. So it is plt.hist data frame on the column age. And you see that actually you might think it's quite like a normal distribution maybe. And then you see that this is believable that the average age is somewhere around 30. So let's see one other thing. And I am interested to see if there is any relationship between the gender of a person and his or her survival chance. So for that, I'm just looking for sex column and then the survived, and use group by. So I'm grouping people into female and male. And for each of these groups, I'm trying to find the average survival rates. So it is obvious that the odds that a female survive is much higher than a male person. So this is really good. The numbers are telling us a lot, but maybe visualization will be much nicer to our eyes. So here you see that the first plot here is looking at the sex column in the data frame, and I'm counting the values, and then I'm plotting the bar for it. So we have either female or male, and then I'm counting their how many male we have, how many female we have. So The more interesting thing is that to see from these male people category, how many survived versus how many did not survive. So for that, I'm using SNC dot count plot. So I'm looking at the sex, female or male, and I use hue for the survived one to see how many people survived in each category and visualize it. So you see that the number of males survived is much less than male died. For female, the number of female died are much smaller than people who, the females who survived. So let's look at this survival thing in another angle. Let's see if there is any relation between the class, if it's the first class, second class, third class, and their survival. So again, I'm looking at the data frame. This time I'm counting number of people in each class and I plot that. And you see that for third class, most people were actually in third class. And now for each class, I want to find the survival rate. And you see that as we expect, many people in third class actually, they died. Whereas for the first class and second class, it was much better. But let's see another thing. What is the relation between being in each class and the gender? Because we already saw that females are surviving more. So maybe more females were in the first class rather than males. So let's plot and see if we can see that. So again, I'm looking at number of people in each class. And for each class, I'm trying to see how many male versus how many female we have. And actually in third class, we have lots of male versus the female ratio is much smaller. For first class and second class, there are again more males, but the ratio between male and female is much smaller. So we decided that we realized from these plots that the odds that a female survived is much higher. At the same time, I realized that being in first class would give the person a better chance of survival. And at the same time, we realized that most male were in the third class. And we just got all this information by simply doing the visualization. At the very end, I'm personally really interested to see how much was the average price for each of these classes. So for each class, first class, second class, third class, I'm looking at the column fare, the amount they paid, and I take the average. So it turns out that if you're in first class, you're paying much more than being in third class. So that was a quick review of how we load data, how we get some simple information from it, how we do the cleaning, and how we do data visualization. Hope that you enjoyed it. See you later.